The scent of 7 women filled the great hall of Valanthos, and not one of them was right. Azenor pressed herself into the alcove behind the eastern tapestry, her heart hammering against her ribs as she watched the ceremony unfold below. She should not have come. Her work was finished. The council had paid her handsomely to identify the 7 most compatible candidates for the Alpha King's Luna, and she had delivered her selections 3 months ago. But Kestrin had come to her chamber last night, as he had every night for 6 months. And this time, he had spoken words that still burned in her memory. "After tomorrow, everything changes," he had murmured against her throat, his breath warm on the place where her pulse fluttered. "I need you to trust me, Azenor, no matter what you see." She had not understood, had thought perhaps he meant to announce her as his choice, impossible as that would be. A scent keeper could not be Luna. Everyone knew this. Her gift existed precisely because she carried no wolf of her own, a hollow vessel that could read the soul resonance between others without interference from her own beast. Wolfless, null, useful, but never chosen. And yet, he had come to her, night after night, drawn by something neither of them could name. He would slip through the hidden passage that connected his chambers to the scent keeper's quarters. He would gather her against his chest and breathe her in as if she were the only air worth taking. "You smell like moonflowers and rain," he had told her once, "like something I have been searching for my entire life." She had never told him what she smelled when she breathed him in. Home, safety, the missing half of her soul. A scent keeper was not supposed to feel the bond. The absence of a wolf meant the absence of that primal recognition. Azenor had tested hundreds of wolves over her 23 years, had witnessed the flare of connection between true mates. She had never expected to feel it herself. But from the moment Kestrin had walked into her testing chamber, she had known. The certainty had slammed into her chest like a physical blow. Her skin had flushed hot. Her hands had trembled. And somewhere deep in her core, in a place she had always believed was empty, something had stirred. She had hidden it. Of course she had hidden it. A wolfless scent keeper feeling a mate bond was impossible. If she spoke of it, she would be declared mad. Or worse, she would be seen as grasping above her station. So she had said nothing. And he had kept coming to her. Now Azenor watched from behind the ancient tapestry as the 7 women she had chosen lined up before the dais. 7 women. She had tested 43 daughters of noble houses over the course of 2 months, had breathed in their scents, measured their resonance, calculated their compatibility with the Alpha King's bloodline. Isolde of House Merrick, whose wolf ran hot with ambition. Thessa of House Valdracourt, gentle but strong. Coralind of the Western Shore, whose laughter could charm even the sternest elder. 4 others, each worthy in her own way. And Ravenna, always Ravenna. Pushed forward by her father despite ranking last among the viable candidates, Azenor had chosen 7 because the council demanded 7. But standing in the shadows now, watching them ascend the dais, she knew a truth she had never dared speak aloud. None of them were right, because the right answer had never been allowed to be a candidate at all. Ravenna Severine stood at the center, her copper hair cascading over shoulders draped in ceremonial white. The Severines had been the ones to pay Azenor's fees, had insisted that only a neutral scent keeper could fairly evaluate the candidates. Azenor had not realized until too late that the neutrality itself was the manipulation. She had tested Ravenna 12 times, had searched for the resonance that would justify placing her higher. But something in the woman's scent had always felt wrong, calculated. Azenor had placed her 7th, last among the viable candidates. Lord Mordecai Severine had not been pleased. The memory of his cold eyes still made her shiver. He had summoned her to his private chambers the night she delivered her rankings. "You will find that my daughter rises in your estimation," he had said, or I will find that your gift has been greatly exaggerated." Azenor had not changed her rankings. She could not. The scent did not lie, and neither could she. The High Elder raised his gnarled hands and the hall fell silent. 2,000 wolves had gathered to witness this moment, and one scent keeper who had no business being here at all. Kestran, Alpha King of Valanthos, blood of the ancient line, the High Elder intoned. The scent keeper has done her sacred duty. 7 candidates stand before you. The realm awaits your choice. Azenor's nails bit into her palms. She could not see Kestran's face from this angle, only the broad expanse of his back, the tension in his shoulders. Because there was something else she had not told him. Something growing beneath her heart that changed everything. Her hand moved instinctively to her belly, still flat enough to hide, but not for much longer. The impossible child of a wolfless woman and an alpha king. She had not understood how it could happen until she remembered her mother's dying words. Sealed, her mother had gasped. Your wolf is sealed, not absent. They will kill you if they know. Hide, my darling. Hide what you are. Azenor had been 7 years old. She had not understood, had grown up believing herself hollow. But the child growing inside her suggested otherwise. A wolfless woman could not conceive by an alpha. The magic would not take root. Which meant Azenor was not what she appeared to be. And if the Severines discovered the truth, she would die before sunrise. Kestran stepped forward. Azenor held her breath. The candidates have been tested, he said, and something in his voice made her frown. It was flat, distant. Nothing like the warm rumble that had whispered her name in darkness. I have considered the counsel of my advisors and the recommendations of the scent keeper. He paused. The silence stretched like a blade. And then he turned. His eyes found her hiding place with impossible accuracy. Golden eyes that had softened with tenderness when he traced the lines of her face. Those eyes were empty now, flat as a frozen lake. But his lips moved, shaping a word that only she could see. Azenor. Her name on his mouth like an apology. Then the emptiness swallowed everything. I choose, Kestran announced, his voice echoing through the hall like a death knell. Ravenna of House Severain. The world shattered. Cheers erupted. Wolves howled their approval. Lord Severine's face split with triumphant satisfaction. But Azenor could not move, could not breathe. The place on her hip where he had bitten her 3 nights ago, where his teeth had broken skin in the throes of passion and something had passed between them, that place erupted in searing agony. She gasped, her hand flying to cover the wound. It burned as if his claim was being ripped from her flesh. Through tear-blurred vision, she watched Kestran raise Ravenna's hand to his lips. His movements were wrong, stilted, like a puppet whose strings were being pulled by an unseen hand. He did not look for her again. He did not hesitate. A sob tore from her throat, lost in the celebration. She stumbled backward and kept moving. Had to keep moving. Had to escape before the grief crushed her completely. She reached her chambers and began to pack with shaking hands. Her testing instruments. Her mother's locket. The herbs for the nausea that plagued her mornings. She paused at the window, looking out at the celebration bonfires blooming across the capital. I felt it, she whispered to the darkness. I know I felt it. You came to me every night. Was all of it a lie? The glass offered no answer. Azenor pulled her cloak tight and slipped through the scent keeper's passage for the last time. She did not see the figure that burst into her chambers moments later. She did not see the golden eyes that flickered with sudden awareness as the drug released its hold. She did not hear the howl of anguish that split the sky, so broken that wolves across the kingdom lifted their heads in shared grief. And she did not see the Alpha King fall to his knees beside her empty bed, clutching the pillow that still held her scent, his body convulsing with the agony of a bond he had not known existed until the moment it was ripped away. By the time Kestrin tore apart the castle searching for answers, Azenor was already gone, and the wolf inside her, sealed for 23 years, had finally begun to wake. The Hollow Woman. 4 months later, the village of Ferncross had almost forgotten it had a newcomer. Azenor had arrived in the bitter depths of winter, a young widow seeking refuge from grief. That was the story she told. Her eyes held the haunted look of someone who had lost everything. Her belly swelled with a child whose father, she claimed, had died before knowing he would become one. They called her Roswen now. A simple name for a simple life. The village healer had taken pity on her, offering the abandoned cottage at the forest's edge in exchange for assistance with the community's needs. Azenor had accepted without hesitation. Healing was close enough to her true gift that she could be useful without revealing what she truly was. A scent keeper in hiding. A woman carrying the Alpha King's heir. A wolf who should not exist, stirring beneath her skin. That last part still terrified her. The awakening had begun the night she fled Valanthos. Subtle at first, a heightened awareness of scents. A sharpness to her hearing that made her startle at sounds she should not have detected. A warmth in her core that pulsed in rhythm with the moon. Her wolf was rising, slowly, painfully, like a creature clawing its way out of a deep grave. She sat now in her small cottage, grinding herbs into powder while the spring rain tapped against the windows. Her belly had grown heavy. The village midwife had examined her last week and pronounced her further along than expected, suggesting she might be carrying more than one child. Twins. "You are strong," she whispered, pressing her palm to the swell where two tiny lives grew. "Strong like your father." The thought of Kestrin still sent pain lancing through her chest. 4 months, and the wound had not begun to heal. The mark on her hip had never stopped burning. She had examined it countless times, watching in confusion as the scar tissue darkened rather than faded. Among wolf kind, a rejected claim was supposed to dissolve within weeks. Instead, her mark pulsed with heat that kept her awake at night. It ached when the wind blew from the west, from the direction of Valanthos. And sometimes, in the quiet hours before dawn, she could swear she felt something through it. A presence, a searching, a clawing need. But that was impossible. Kestrin had chosen another. Whatever they had shared meant nothing compared to the political alliance he had sealed. Unless the bond had never been one-sided at all. Azenor pushed the thought away. False hope was a poison more dangerous than any she knew how to brew. A knock at her door made her stiffen. "Mistress Roswen?" A child's voice. Pip, the miller's youngest son. "Mama says to come quick. Traders have arrived from the east and one of them took a fall from his horse." The trader was a burly man with a gray-streaked beard and a leg bent at an angle that made Azenor wince. She worked quickly, setting the bone while his companions held him still. "You have skilled hands, mistress," one of the other traders said. A younger man with sharp eyes. "We have come from Valanthos. Have you heard the news from the capital?" Azenor's heart seized. "I pay little attention to the affairs of kings. You might want to pay attention to this one." The trader leaned closer. "The Alpha King has gone mad." The grinding stone slipped from her fingers. "Mad?" she managed. "Completely feral. For 4 months, he has been tearing the kingdom apart searching for someone. A woman. The reward stands at 20,000 gold pieces for any information leading to her discovery." The baby kicked sharply. Both sides at once. "The crops are failing in the western provinces," another trader added. "Livestock attacked by wolves who should know better. The king's own guard deployed to every village, questioning everyone." "What did she do?" Azenor forced herself to ask. "This woman he seeks?" The traders exchanged uncertain glances. "That is the strangest part. The proclamation calls her his true mate, his fated Luna, the one who was stolen from him on the night of his choosing." The young trader shook his head. But everyone saw him choose Lady Ravenna. How can he have a different true mate? Azenor could not breathe. He was searching for her. He called her his true mate. The Severines are not pleased, the injured traitor grunted. Lord Severine has declared the king unfit. Lady Ravenna has been confined to her chambers since the king refused to complete the mating ceremony. Refused? Never touched her. The servants say he screams in his sleep, calls out a name no one recognizes. Her name. He was calling her name. The mark on her hip flared with sudden heat, and she gasped at the sensation. Not just warmth this time, something more. A pulse of emotion that was not her own. Longing. Grief so vast it threatened to swallow everything. He felt her. Across all the miles between them, he felt her. And she had spent 4 months believing he had thrown her away. Mistress Roswen, you have gone quite pale. Azenor forced herself to straighten. The baby moves strongly today, I must rest. She fled the trading post before they could ask more questions. Kestrin had not chosen Ravenna willingly. Something had been done to him that night. The empty eyes, the mechanical movements, the way he had whispered her name before his face went blank. The Severines. It had to be the Severines. They had paid her to select the candidates, had pressured her to rank Ravenna higher. And when manipulation failed, they had resorted to something far more sinister. Azenor sank into the nearest chair, her body shaking. Kestrin had not betrayed her. Kestrin had been violated, and she had run away, carrying his children, while he tore his kingdom apart trying to find her. A sound from outside made her stiffen. Footsteps. Heavy. Multiple sets. Approaching her cottage with purposeful stride, Azenor's hand went to the knife on her belt, silver-edged. It would wound even a shifted wolf. The footsteps stopped at her door. 3 sharp knocks. Mistress Roswen. A male voice, unfamiliar but carrying authority. Open the door, we must speak with you. Azenor did not move. We know who you are, the voice continued. We know what you carry. Open the door, Scentkeeper. Before the others arrive. The others. Her blood turned to ice. She had been found. The question was, by whom? The first Beta Azenor gripped her silver knife and approached the door. Through the gap in the shutters, she could see 3 figures standing in the rain. 2 were clearly warriors. But the third made her breath catch. Silver threaded through dark hair. Deep lines carved around amber eyes, and on his left hand, a ring bearing the royal seal of Valanthos. Orvin, she breathed. The first Beta of the Alpha King, Kestrin's most trusted advisor. Scentkeeper. His voice was gentler now. Please. We have very little time. If Orvin had come to harm her, he would not have knocked. He would not have announced himself. She unbolted the door. Orvin stepped inside alone. His amber eyes swept her small cottage, then dropped to her belly. Something shifted in his weathered face. Relief. Wonder. It is true, he said quietly. You carry his children. How did you find me? The king did not send me, if that is your fear. I have gone to considerable lengths to ensure he does not know your precise location. Why? Because the moment Kestrin learns where you are, he will come for you. Nothing will stop him. And the Severines are counting on exactly that. Azenor's hand tightened on her knife. Tell me everything. So he did. Orvin told her about the night of the choosing, about the compound slipped into Kestrin's wine during the ceremonial feast. Wolfsbane mixed with other herbs designed to suppress the king's wolf, sever his connection to his instincts, and leave him susceptible to suggestion. The effects lasted 3 days, the Beta said grimly. When they finally wore off, the king woke screaming your name. He remembered nothing of the ceremony, nothing of choosing Ravenna. And I was already gone, Azenor whispered. The empty chamber nearly broke him. He shifted and tore apart half the castle searching for your scent. Azenor sank into her chair. He knows I am his mate. He knew it the first moment he scented you. He told me he felt like he had been struck by lightning. Orvin's voice softened. But you showed no sign of feeling the bond in return. You treated him as you treated every other wolf. Professional. Distant. Because she had been hiding, terrified of what she felt. I felt it, she admitted. From the first moment, I thought I was going mad. They were real. Orvin reached into his coat and withdrew a folded letter. This arrived at the castle 3 weeks ago. The seal was broken, but she recognized the serpent crest. House Severine. Her hands trembled as she unfolded the paper. The scent keeper has been located. She carries whelps that could challenge our claim. The problem will be eliminated before the full moon. Ravenna will reign. Azenor read it twice. Assassins, she breathed. Already on their way. We believe the Severines have been tracking you for weeks. Then why are you here instead of them? Because the king has had every wolf in the realm searching for you. We may have found you only hours ahead of the Severine hunters. Orvin moved toward the door. We must leave. Now. And go where? Back to Valanthos, where Ravenna sits in the Luna's chambers and her father commands half the court? You would survive because Kestrin would tear apart anyone who threatened you. His wolf has been fighting for dominance every moment since you vanished. If he loses hope, if the Severines succeed. An alpha wolf separated from its true mate for too long could lose itself entirely to the beast. And an alpha king with power as vast as Kestran's would become something monstrous. The bond, Azenor said slowly. I still feel it. It burns every day. It means he is reaching for you. Every time your mark burns, he feels an answering fire. It is the only thing keeping him sane. As if to emphasize his words, the mark on her hip flared with sudden heat. Azenor gasped at the intensity. And through the pain, she felt something she had never felt before. Him. Not just a vague presence, Kestrin himself, his consciousness brushing against hers. Rage and hope and love, all tangled together. He is close, Orvin said, watching her face. The bond is guiding him. Before Azenor could respond, a howl split the evening air. It came from the forest. Close. And it was answered by 3 more from different directions. The beta was at the window instantly. Through the rain-streaked glass, shapes moved between the trees. Wolves, their pelts dark, their movements coordinated. The Severine pack, Orvin growled. They followed us. How many? At least 8. He turned to face her with fear in his eyes. My lady, I have failed you. I led them directly to your door. A crash from the back of the cottage made them both spin. The window exploded inward, and through the rain of glass came a wolf with murder in its eyes. Orvin shifted mid-lunge, his body exploding into silver-gray fur as he intercepted the attacker. The 2 wolves slammed together, snapping jaws and tearing claws filling the small space. More glass shattered. The front door burst from its hinges. Suddenly, Azenor's cottage was full of wolves. She raised her silver knife as the first attacker lunged. The blade bit deep, drawing a howl of agony, but another was already coming. She slashed, putting her back against the wall, protecting her belly with her free arm. A wolf's jaws clamped around her wrist. She screamed as teeth punctured flesh, the knife clattering to the floor. Hold her, a voice commanded. Human, cold. Lord Severine wants confirmation of the pregnancy before she dies. Rough hands seized her arms, forcing her to her knees. A woman stepped through the ruined doorway, her copper hair darkened by rain. Ravenna. So this is the creature who has caused so much trouble. The would-be Luna crouched before Azenor, gripping her chin with cruel fingers. A scent keeper. A nobody with delusions. Your ceremony means nothing, Azenor spat. Kestrin was drugged. The mating was never completed. You are Luna of nothing. Ravenna's hand cracked across her face. I will be Luna of everything when you are dead. She rose. Kill the beta. Make sure the scent keeper watches. No, Azenor struggled. He has nothing to do with this. A dark wolf advanced on Orvan's prone form, jaws opening to deliver the killing bite. The forest exploded. Trees splintered like kindling. The ground shook. The Severine wolves scattered in pure terror. And through the destruction came a wolf the size of a nightmare, black fur that seemed to drink the light. Eyes blazing with golden fire so intense they illuminated the rain, power radiating from every stride. The wolf stopped at the edge of the clearing, those burning eyes fixed on Azenor. And through the bond, she felt the exact moment his rage transformed into something far more dangerous: recognition, love, and a promise that whatever had been done to her would be repaid 1,000-fold. The Alpha King had found his mate, and the Severines were about to learn the true meaning of fear. Ravenna backed away, her confidence cracking. "Kill him! Kill him now!" None of the Severine wolves moved. They were too busy running. The reckoning Kestrin's wolf moved through the remaining Severine attackers like death itself given form. Azenor watched from where she knelt in the mud, her captors having fled the moment their alpha's roar had shaken the forest. The great dark wolf did not chase the fleeing pack. He focused only on those who remained too close to his mate. 3 wolves who had been too slow to run learned the cost of that mistake. Ravenna shifted, her human form dissolving into a sleek copper wolf. She darted toward the tree line with the desperation of prey that knew it had no chance. Kestrin let her go. Instead, those blazing eyes fixed on Azenor, and the fury in them transformed into tenderness. The wolf approached slowly. He lowered his great head, pressing his muzzle gently against her injured wrist. A whine escaped his throat. "I am all right," she whispered. "It is not deep." His nose traveled from her wrist to her belly, pressing against the swell where his children grew. He held there, breathing her in, feeling the movement of the lives they had created. Then the shift rippled through him. One moment, a wolf. The next, a man kneeling in the mud and rain, his hands hovering over her stomach as if afraid his touch might shatter her. He looked up, and Azenor saw that the Alpha King was weeping. "You are alive," he breathed. His voice was ragged, as if he had been screaming for months. "You are alive, and you are—" His hands trembled against her belly. The babies kicked in response, movements coming from opposite sides. "Twins," Azenor confirmed softly. A sound escaped him that was half laugh, half sob. He pressed his forehead to her stomach. 4 months, he choked out. 4 months of losing myself to the wolf, of screaming your name while my kingdom crumbled. He looked up with eyes that held nothing back. "I thought I had lost you forever." Azenor reached down and cupped his face in her hands. "I saw you choose her," she said quietly. "I watched you take her hand. I watched your face, and saw nothing. I remember nothing of that night. The last thing I recall is raising a toast to the gathered wolves. Then darkness. And then waking 3 days later with Ravenna in my chambers, claiming we were mated, while my wolf was screaming that something was wrong. The Severines drugged you. They violated me." The word hung between them. They stole my will and used my body to claim a woman I despise while the woman I love was watching from the shadows. The woman I love. The word struck Azenor with physical force. "You came to me every night," she whispered. "For 6 months. You never said—" "I was afraid." The Alpha King, afraid of a scent keeper who showed no sign of feeling what I felt. "I wanted it." The confession tore from her throat. "I wanted you so much it terrified me. But I am wolfless, Kestrin. Or I was supposed to be." "You are not hollow." His hand moved to her hip, pressing against the place where his claiming bite had marked her. "I felt you through this. Every day you were gone. I felt you too. I thought it meant the mark was dying." Kestrin rose, pulling her up with him. His arms wrapped around her and she buried her face in his chest. "Never again." he vowed against her hair. Whatever comes next, we face it together. Ravenna escaped. She will go to her father. Let her. Lord Severine has committed treason. He will answer for it. Orvin limped toward them, his silver-gray fur giving way to human form. Blood matted his hair, but he was alive. My king. The Severine hunters have fled. He hesitated. There is something else. Before I left the capital, I received disturbing reports. Lord Severine has been gathering allies. Half the noble houses have grown restless. Kestrin's eyes flickered. They think me weak. They think you mad. There are whispers of a regency council. Azenor felt the growl building in Kestrin's chest. They would replace me with the man who poisoned me? They do not know about the poison. All they know is that their king abandoned his chosen Luna and spent 4 months tearing apart the realm. We must return to Volanthos, Azenor said firmly. You must show them you are not mad. They rode through the night. Azenor sat before him in the saddle, his arm wrapped around her waist, his body shielding her from the wind. They cleared the forest as the first gray light of dawn touched the sky. The capital of Volanthos spread before them. But something was wrong. Smoke rose from the merchant quarter, and on the great banner above the castle gates, the royal crest had been replaced. A silver serpent on a field of black. House Severine. No, Orvin breathed. It has only been 5 days since I left. Kestrin's arm tightened around Azenor. A growl built in his chest. Ravenna reached her father before us. A rider emerged from the city gates, galloping toward them. One of Kestrin's scouts, his face ashen. My king, Lord Severine struck at midnight. He had allies within the guard. The castle has fallen. The Severines have declared you unfit and named themselves regents. Where are my loyal wolves? Those who would not bend the knee have been taken prisoner. Severine is holding them in the great hall. The scout swallowed. He says they will be executed at noon as traitors. All 42 of them, including the castle servants. Anyone who was known to be loyal to you. Marisol. The name struck Azenor like a blow. Marisol, the young maid who had covered for her absences when Kestran came to her bed. We have to save them, Azenor said fiercely. Kestran looked down at her. Azenor, you cannot enter that city. If the Severines capture you. If we do nothing, 42 innocent people die. I will not let Marisol die because she was kind to me. For a long moment the Alpha King was silent. Then, slowly, a smile spread across his face. Something fierce, something proud. My Luna, he murmured. Even now, you think of others before yourself. He turned to address the 30 wolves assembled behind them. The Severines believe they have won. They believe their treachery has succeeded. His eyes blazed. They are wrong. A howl rose from the assembled wolves, 30 voices joining in a chorus of fury. Today, we take back what is ours. The wolves surged forward, and at their head, with his mate held close, the Alpha King rode to reclaim his throne. The sacrifice. The battle for the outer walls was brutal and swift. Kestrin's wolves were outnumbered, but they fought with the ferocity of creatures who had watched their king suffer for 4 months. They had heard his howls of anguish. They had felt the wrongness of the broken bond through their pack connection. Azenor watched from a protected position on the hillside. 3 guards surrounded her, their bodies tensed for any threat. Through the bond, she felt every moment of the battle. His fury as he tore through Severine defenders, his satisfaction when enemy wolves fled, and beneath it all, a constant pulse of awareness directed at her. Stay safe, stay hidden. She sent back her own answer. I am here. The children are strong. The sun climbed toward its noon peak. Kestrin's wolves had breached the outer walls, but time was running out. At noon, Lord Severine would begin executing the hostages. A messenger came running up the hillside, blood streaming from a gash on his temple. My lady, The king sends word. We cannot reach the Great Hall in time. Lord Severine has barricaded the doors. If we try to break through, he will begin killing hostages before we can stop him. Azenor's heart clenched. How many wolves does Severine have left? Perhaps 30. They have positioned themselves around the hostages with blades drawn. There must be another way in. The Great Hall was designed to be defensible. Every entrance is blocked. Azenor closed her eyes. The wolf inside her stirred. An idea formed in her mind. Terrible, dangerous, but possibly the only chance those hostages had. The Scent Keeper's Passage, she said slowly. Does it still exist? My lady? There is a hidden corridor that connects the Scent Keeper's quarters to the royal chambers. It runs directly beneath the Great Hall. My lady, you cannot mean... Tell the king to give me 1 hour before he breaks down those doors. He will never agree. Then do not tell him until it is too late to stop me. Azenor was already moving. Her guards tried to block her path, but she fixed them with a look that came from somewhere powerful. Somewhere not entirely human. Your king needs those hostages alive. I am the only one who can give him that advantage. She did not wait for their response. The Scent Keeper's Passage was exactly where she remembered it, the entrance hidden behind a false panel in the servants' quarters. Azenor slipped through the narrow doorway and into the darkness beyond. The corridor was cramped and dusty. She moved by memory, her hands trailing along the cold stone walls. Her wolf stirred with each step, rising faster now, as if the danger had accelerated whatever process had been awakening her. The passage ended at a small wooden door. Beyond it, she could hear voices. The king will not reach us in time. Lord Severine's voice dripped with satisfaction. By the time he breaks through, every one of these traitors will be dead. What about the Scent Keeper? Ravenna's voice now. As long as she lives, our claim will be challenged. Once we have secured our position, we will hunt her down. But first, we demonstrate what happens to those who oppose House Severine. The sound of a blade being drawn. Bring me the first prisoner. Azenor did not think. She pushed through the door. The great hall spread before her. 42 prisoners knelt in a line, their hands bound, and their faces pale with terror. Armed soldiers stood behind them with blades drawn. And at the center of the dais, with a sword raised over a kneeling prisoner, stood Lord Mordecai Severine. Every head in the hall turned toward her. Azenor saw Marisol among the hostages, her young face streaked with tears. Saw the old cook. Saw the stablemaster. And she saw Lord Severine lower his sword, his cold eyes widening. The Scent Keeper. How delightfully unexpected. Azenor kept her voice steady. Release the hostages. Severine laughed. Why would I do that? Because I am what you truly want, the king's mate, the mother of his heirs. Let these people go, and I will give myself to you willingly. Ravenna surged forward. Kill her now. But Lord Severine raised his hand. His cold eyes traveled over Azenor's swollen belly, calculating. You would trade your life for theirs? I would. You understand what you are offering. You and those whelps will die. Ravenna will take her rightful place. I understand. Then kneel. Azenor knelt. The cold stone bit into her knees. Her wolf raged against the submission, but she forced herself to stay still. Release the prisoners, she said again. Lord Severine gestured to his wolves. One by one, the hostages were cut free and shoved toward the great doors. They stumbled out into freedom, many of them weeping. Marisol was the last to go. She paused at the threshold. The king is coming, the young maid whispered. Hold on. Then she was gone, and the doors slammed shut. Lord Severine circled Azenor. I underestimated you. When my daughter told me a scent keeper had bewitched the king, I assumed you were simply a convenient bed warmer. But you are something more, are you not? I am not wolfless. The words slipped out before she could stop them. Lord Severine paused. I beg your pardon? My wolf was sealed when I was a child. Someone wanted me to appear hollow. But the seal is breaking, Lord Severine, and when it does... She smiled. You will wish you had killed me when you had the chance. Severine's mask of confidence flickered. He raised his sword. Then I will kill you now. The blade descended, and Azanor's wolf shattered its chains. The Luna rises. The transformation tore through Azanor's body like fire and lightning combined. She screamed as bones cracked and reformed. Her skin rippled as fur pushed through from beneath. 23 years of suppression exploded outward in a cascade of golden light that sent Lord Severine stumbling backward. Pain. Impossible pain. But beneath it, power. Pure, ancient power that had been waiting her entire life. Her wolf was not merely waking. Her wolf was being born. The light intensified until everyone in the hall was forced to shield their eyes. Severine's wolves whimpered, their beasts recognizing something primal in the energy. Through the agony, Azanor felt her children. They were not threatened by the transformation. They were fueling it. Their tiny bodies pulsed with magic that resonated with her own. She was still aware when her body completed its first shift. She was still aware when she rose on 4 legs, and she was very much aware when Lord Severine's blade bounced harmlessly off her silver-white fur. The Alpha King's true mate stood in the center of the great hall, and she was magnificent. Her fur gleamed like moonlight on fresh snow, her eyes blazed with amber fire. She was smaller than Kestrin, but no less powerful, and she was very, very angry. Lord Severine scrambled backward. "Kill her!" he screamed. Azanor lunged, her jaws closed around his sword arm. The blade clattered to the floor as bones crunched beneath her teeth. She shook him once, then flung him aside. Ravenna shifted, her copper wolf darting toward the eastern exit. 3 of her father's wolves followed. The rest were backing away. They had signed on to support a coup. They had not signed on to face a sealed wolf awakened after 23 years. A creature that radiated power like heat from a bonfire. The great doors exploded inward. Kestrin burst through in full wolf form, his massive body filling the entrance. His eyes found Azanor instantly, and the relief that flooded through the bond nearly staggered her. Behind him came his wolves, Orvin, the 30 fighters who had followed their king. They flooded into the hall like a tide of fur and fang. The remaining Severine wolves did not try to fight. They dropped to their bellies in surrender. Lord Severine crawled toward the dais, clutching his mangled arm. This is not over. My daughter is the chosen Luna. The ceremony was witnessed. Azanor shifted back to human form. The change was easier now. Natural. She stood in the center of the hall, her belly heavy with children, her silver-white hair cascading down her back. Your daughter was chosen by a king who had been drugged into compliance, she said, her voice carrying harmonics that were not entirely human. The ceremony was a lie, and you, Lord Severine, are guilty of treason, poisoning, and attempted murder of the crown. Kestrin shifted beside her, his cloak wrapping around her shoulders. Where is Ravenna? He demanded. Fled through the eastern tunnels. Orvin. Find her. Bring her back alive. The beta was already moving. Lord Severine laughed bitterly. My allies control half the noble houses. Even if you execute me, my supporters will... Your supporters watched you take hostages and threaten to execute innocent servants, Azanor said. They watched you raise a sword over a pregnant woman. How many of them will still support you when they learn what you did to their king? For the first time, uncertainty flickered in Severine's gaze. The wolves of Valanthos felt something wrong on the night of the choosing, she continued. They sensed their king was not himself. And now they know why. Because you violated their alpha. You stole his will and forced him to reject his true mate. A growl rippled through the hall. Not from Kestran. From the defeated sovereign wolves themselves, they were turning on their lord. The courtyard was filled with wolves. They had come from every corner of the city. Noble and common, warrior and merchant. They had watched the battle. They had heard the howls of victory. And now they gathered to see their king and the mysterious woman he had torn apart his kingdom to find. Kestrin raised their joined hands. People of Valanthos, for 4 months, I have searched for the woman stolen from me on the night of my choosing. Many of you believed me mad, but I was not mad. I was violated. The Severines poisoned me and forced me to choose a woman I despised, while my true mate watched from the shadows. The murmur became a growl. Today, the Severines answer for their crimes, and the woman I love stands beside me at last. Kestrin looked down at Azenor. This is Azenor, my true mate, my fated Luna. From this day forward she will rule beside me as Queen of Valanthos. The courtyard erupted with howls of joy. Kestrin faced her, tilting his head to bare his throat. The bond between us was formed in secret, he said quietly. I claimed you in darkness because we both believed you could never be chosen in light. But I was wrong. You were always worthy. He was offering himself. In wolf society, the claiming went both ways. The male marked the female, but the bond was not sealed until she marked him in return. Kestrin had bitten her months ago in the secrecy of her chambers, but she had never claimed him back. Now, before the entire kingdom, he was giving her that chance. Azenor rose on her toes and pressed her lips to the spot where his neck met his shoulder. She felt his pulse thundering, felt his love flowing through the bond. Her teeth sank into his flesh. The bond exploded. It was completion. 2 halves of a single soul finally becoming whole. Every memory, every emotion, every secret corner of their hearts laid bare. She saw herself through his eyes, not a hollow scent keeper, a woman of extraordinary courage, the mother of his children, the most precious soul in his existence, and he saw himself through hers, not a king who had failed her. A warrior who had fought against impossible odds, a man worthy of the love she had never stopped feeling. When Azenor finally released him, they were both trembling. My Luna, Kestrin breathed. My king, she answered. Around them, the wolves of Valanthos howled their celebration. In the weeks that followed, the kingdom healed. Lord Severine was executed. Ravenna was captured and exiled to the frozen wastes, stripped of her name and her wolf. Azenor found her place in the castle she had once served as a humble scent keeper. The wolves who had whispered about their king's madness now bowed their heads when she passed, and the children came on a warm summer evening. A boy first, with his father's dark hair, then a girl, her fur silver white when she shifted instinctively, her eyes already blazing. Kestrin held his children with tears streaming down his face. Thank you, he whispered to Azenor, for fighting for us, for believing in us. Azenor reached up to touch the claiming mark on his throat, the mark that matched the one on her hip. I never stopped believing, she said softly. We were always meant to find our way back to each other. Kestrin leaned down to kiss her. Their children nestled between them. Always, he agreed. In this life, and every life that follows, you are my heart, Azenor, my Luna, my home. Outside their window, the wolves of Valanthos lifted their voices, and in the great tapestry of the kingdom's history, a new chapter was woven. The story of a scent keeper who chose 7 candidates, but was always the answer herself. Of an alpha king who tore apart his realm to find his true love. Of a bond that could not be broken by poison or politics or fate. They had found each other against all odds, and they would never be parted again. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this story.